You're watching Burst Comms.
Okay, let's crack on. In 2019, something shifted. Not a single event, more like the world's operating system took a quiet update while nobody was looking. Since then, everything's felt slightly desynchronized. Time moves differently, people feel thinner, more distant. In reality, while it hasn't broken, it's shifted. Everyone senses it, but few can actually explain it. And that's what this video is about. Not the mood, but the mechanics. Because what happened since 2019 isn't actually a mystery, it's measurable, psychological, cultural, and technological.
We build our physics on top of our intuitions, and the intuition for a very long time, as represented in Newtonian physics, is that time is a river that flows past, and we passively track that. And then with Einsteinian physics, the idea was, okay, well actually it can stretch or squish depending on your frame of reference. But I think it's a lot worse than that, and that's what I'm going to tell you about very briefly. It appears that there's actually a neural relativity. It appears that time ain't what you think it is.
Until 2019, most lives ran on routine. Wake up, commute, interact, go home, repeat. Routines aren't just habits. For human beings, they're scaffolding for perception. They tell your brain, this is real, this is stable. Then the pandemic hit. It didn't just take away jobs or travel. What it took was predictability. Days stopped meaning anything. Time itself stopped feeling linear. Psychologists call this dislocation, the sudden loss of environmental cues that tell your brain where it is in time and context. It's the exact same effect seen in submariners, prisoners, and shift workers. When structure disappears, our orientation collapses. But the real damage for us came afterwards. When society reopened, that scaffolding didn't return. We stayed online, education stayed hybrid, and attention stayed fragmented. We didn't go back to a world where we recognized things. We adapted to a new one that no longer required our physical presence. We thought we were returning to normal, and that was the problem, because we were actually entering version 2 of everything. Human memory relies on novelty to measure time. The more new experiences you have, the slower time feels, because your brain has to encode new data. Lockdown killed novelty, and therefore days blurred because nothing new was being recorded. Researchers saw it quite clearly. Reduced hippocampal activity, lower dopamine spikes, even smaller perceived time intervals, a condition called temporal compression. It's the same symptom that astronauts and people in solitary confinement describe. During the crisis, more than 65% of people said they could no longer tell weekdays from weekends. Half felt that time was speeding up, and the other half swore it was slowing down. That contradiction is the signature of disconnection, perception running out of sync with reality. And it didn't reset when the restrictions lifted, because digital life keeps novelty low. Same feeds, same faces, same filtered noise. So even as we moved on, our brains didn't. They're still looping those 36 months of overstimulation and monotony, waiting for a world that feels like it's moving again. Time didn't change. We just stopped producing it. After 2 years of isolation, you'd expect people to flood back into public life. Instead, they retreated further. Global data shows social trust, friendship depth, and civic participation all fell. In effect, we became spectators, interacting through glass and algorithms that confirm what we already think. Psychologists call it protective withdrawal, when the mind treats unpredictability as danger and shrinks its exposure. It's a type of survival response, and it's now the dominant social mode across developed economies. That's why everything feels impersonal. Shops with no staff, meetings on Teams, customer support handled by AI or bots. It's not dystopia by design, it's evolution by exhaustion. Human contact became inefficient, so we quietly outsourced it. But optimization always extracts a price. The safer and more efficient the system becomes, the less human it feels. And that emptiness, that low-grade hollowness under everything, is the cost of our new convenience. 2020 compressed a decade of digital adoption into 12 months. Remote work, logistics, surveillance, content algorithms, all matured overnight. The tech isn't the problem, it's how it reshaped perception though. Because platforms don't sell information, they sell emotion. Outrage, fear, curiosity. Anything that spikes a dopamine hit becomes data. By 2021, time spent online overtook every other waking activity except sleep. And reality itself became a form of content. And once truth started competing with entertainment, truth lost. Deepfakes and synthetic news spread not because people got dumber, but because attention became currency. And truth simply doesn't pay as well as stimulation. We didn't lose control of reality. We actually auctioned it off to whoever could keep us watching the longest. Independent creators now hold the narrative because audiences follow authenticity, not institutions. Podcast consumption in news and politics jumped over 50% since 2020. The gatekeepers didn't vanish, they were outbid by engagement metrics. The psychological fracture has an economic shadow. Inflation, automation, collapsing job loyalty, all symptoms of a deeper break. Meaning itself became unstable. When you can't trust time, institutions, or truth, work stops feeling like progress. People no longer quit because of bad bosses, they quit because it all feels pointless. You can see it in the data. Financial anxiety now eclipses social or environmental concern. When stability is threatened, pragmatism always overrides idealism. Sociologists call this the meaning recession. Not burnout from overwork, but exhaustion from circular work. Endless optimization with nothing tangible produced. Meanwhile, AI is quietly swallowing the middle layer of cognitive labor. Analysts, designers, copywriters, sales teams, the class that once powered the professional economy. Those workers aren't just losing income, they're losing narrative. Their story, the idea that effort equals advancement, it no longer holds. And that's why even small choices now feel heavy. Because things like buying coffee, checking savings, every transaction tests whether tomorrow will still look like today. And the unease isn't only about money. It's about identity. The quiet recognition that the future we trained for no longer exists. When people lose control of reality, they reach for explanation. That's why interest in astrology, simulation theory, which I covered in an earlier video, and conspiracies exploded after 2020. We're not built to tolerate randomness. If the world doesn't make sense, we'd rather believe it's rigged. Online, you'll hear phrases like reality shifted 3 degrees to the left, whatever that means. Every odd synchronicity, every Mandela effect or deja vu becomes a seed point, a supposed glitch signaling the new branch of reality. It sounds absurd, but it's psychologically plausible. It's not insanity. The modern mind has too much data and too little trust. So it simply assembles meaning the way AI assembles an image, guessing what should have been there based on the fragments that it's got. And interestingly, just like AI, we hallucinate. We see patterns in noise, purpose in coincidence. That's why so many people can describe the feeling of something being off, but can't define it, because the cause sits between psychology, technology, and culture, not inside any one of them. We're not all going mad. We're actually just adapting, building new mythologies for a digital age where belief spreads faster than proof and every doubt finds a community. So all these fractures, time, trust, work, truth, converge into one: disconnection. Not just from each other, but from continuity itself. We used to think of life as a story. Now it's a feed. Every day resets, every conversation expires. You can't build identity on refresh rates. What makes this era so destabilizing isn't chaos, it's the illusion of order laid over chaos. We still go to work, post photos, pay bills, but the emotional architecture that made those things meaningful before has eroded. So when people say the world feels off, they're not being poetic, they're describing a measurable truth. Human consciousness is now out of sync with its environment. Well, maybe this is what decline looks like in a world too advanced to notice it. Not apocalypse, drift. Not fire, but fatigue. We've built systems that evolve faster than the species running them. We think we're adapting, but really we're being repurposed. Attention converted into data, emotion into metrics, and memory into training sets. So to answer the point of this whole video, no, the world isn't off, but it is accelerating beyond human speed. And that dull, persistent sense that something is wrong, that's not depression, that's lag. The world has moved on. We just haven't finished loading it in yet.
Fuck me, I'm looking in the mirror, so foggy, but I've never seen clearer. I don't really think anyone can save me, and honestly I'm not really sure I want saving. I like to be my own worst enemy. There's no risk if you don't try at anything, so I'ma just keep buying everything. See you in the next life, have to be a better me. I don't think that my head's on straight, gotta flip it and grip it and go and get it next.